disappoints me is the way we take this class, we take it so casually. Like at this time, less than half of the staff, maybe just a quarter. The rest of the people are not there. They'll be joining us in the video, and by that time we have advanced so much. And I cannot go back talking about things which we have already talked about. So I think we should also improve the way we approach this class so that we move in the same direction and we should achieve what we are here for. Any questions on what we talked about last time? We're talking about the research methods covered by the number of methodologies for descriptive research. Surveys, developmental studies, cross-sectional studies, follow-up studies, ethnography, historical research, and all what we have talked about in terms of the descriptive research. Any questions? Are they crystal clear? We are still surprised. We're not saying any questions. The students that will get surprises. What we talk about clear. So we have areas where it's not clear, or we have not understood anything at all.
On the first question,
Yes.
how many years
Actually, when I was reading the second page of my slide, I numbered the numbering because I want you to be able to follow all the types of research talked about. Follow-up studies, documentary analysis, trend analysis, correlation studies, case studies, and simple studies, experiments. geography, historical research. So far we've talked about the 9 types of descriptive research. 9. The first one, which is, I would say, you have to be appraisal of the best guy in the network, not the type of research. And in the various types of research we talked about, but there are 9. And that's why I was saying that when you're writing your proposals, in the methodology section, you have a section for research design, where one expects to say, I'm going to use this research design. So on descriptive research, if you are using descriptive research, you need to go beyond just saying descriptive research, because there are 9 different types of descriptive research. Tell us exactly which one of them you are going to use and why you have chosen that type. Have I answered your question?
Yes.
Other questions? There are no questions. Let's go forward. For now, I'll explain my next few lectures talking about experimental research. As we talked about the fact that the research varies in continuum between qualitative and quantitative research, in other words, descriptive to experimental research. So, in terms of descriptive, most of the descriptive design are what I've talked about. But in terms of experimental, then we have quite a few that we talk about from today, maybe to the next week, up to our next lecture. Experimental research is the research designed to assess cause-effect relationships. Contrary to descriptive research, where we say the aim is to describe phenomena as we see, or to explain why phenomena is occurring the way it is occurring. Experimental research. It's a projector for my computer.
the computer where and so on. Figure out what is happening.
Well, since I already sent the slides to you, we shall be both of them okay. Of course, I will add a few more slides to them. I'll send again to you so that you're okay. But experimental research is the design for establishing cause-effect relationships. And by cause-effect relationship, what I'm referring to is you want to assess whether change in one variable causes change in another variable. You recall when we were talking about the correlational studies, we talked about the association of one variable and another variable. In other words, change in one variable influencing change in another variable. But in terms of experimental research, we go beyond just assessing relationships. We want to see whether the changes that occur in a dependent variable are being caused by changes occurring in an independent variable. The normal question is, if I change the independent variable, is that going to cause change in the dependent variable? So the question is not if I change the independent variable, is that going to be associated with change? But it is going to cause. For example, if you are in agriculture and you planted a crop of milk, and you are testing whether application of fertilizer will cause increase in yield. So let's say you have 3-4 pots of maize, and in one plot you don't apply fertilizer, in another plot you apply maybe 50 kg, in another plot you apply 100 kg, 200 kg, and so on and so forth. And the intention is to see whether by adding fertilizer you are increasing yield. So you can argue to say, where I didn't apply fertilizer, the yield was low. But when I use the application of fertilizer, the yield increases. So application of fertilizer is causing increase in yield. So studies of that nature are the ones which is the design of experimental research. And there are 3 main characteristics that we look for when conducting experimental research. One important characteristic is control. You must be able to control all other variables except the 2 variables which you are interested in. If I want to assess whether
fertilizer is causing yield, then I must make sure that the plots where this experiment is being done, there are no other variables that can cause yield change. All other variables that can cause yield increase should be held constant, except for fertilizer. Then I have control, and when I see that yield is increasing, I can explain that increase in terms of fertilizer. But if I find myself in a situation where I'm changing fertilizer and the amount of water on the maize plot is also changing, you know that the water can also go. If you don't apply enough water, the yield will be low. If you apply enough water, the yield will be high. So for me to be able to explain changes of yield in terms of the fertilizer, the amount of water applied should be held constant. Where I have not applied the fertilizer, it must receive the same amount of water as the place where I have applied fertilizer. So if there is any change in yield, any difference in yield between where I have not applied and where I have applied, I can explain that as a result of fertilizer, not water. Making sense? Temperature can also influence yield. Diseases, pests can also affect yield. So all these must be held constant between the two points, apart from the fertilizer. Then any differences in yield can be explained in terms of fertilizer. What is okay? May I explain it please? Yes, ma'am. What is controlling the experimental research? Activity to hold all other variables constant except for the variables of interest, which are the independent variable and the dependent variable. All other variables who can influence the dependent variable must be held constant, so that you can explain the influence of the independent variable without ambiguity. Right? Yes? This is very crazy. Yes? Can I give it again? When we are talking about control in experimental research, it is the ability that the researcher has to hold all other variables that can influence change in the dependent variable constant, and only change the independent variable. You as the researcher must make sure that all other variables which can cause change in the dependent variable are held constant. So when you are changing the independent variable and you observe changes on the dependent variable, you can explain that in terms of what you have changed. That's the case. The other characteristic of experimental research is the manipulation. You as a researcher should manipulate or change the independent variable, and you should be able to observe the effect of those changes you are making on the independent variable on the dependent variable. So therefore, when I'm using independent and dependent variable, we have to be ready. So in the experimental research, the researcher physically introduces changes in the independent variable with a view to observe the effects of such changes on the dependent variable. So the process of introducing change on the independent variable is what we refer to as manipulation. You are manipulating the dependent variable in order to observe the effects of that on the dependent variable. And then the third characteristic is the observation, the ability of you as a researcher to make observations on the dependent variable. The changes you are making on the independent variable, your expectation is that those changes will result in change on your dependent variable. So you have to observe the changes which are occurring on the dependent variable as a result of your manipulation of the dependent variable. So in experimental research, there must be those three things that you must be able to manipulate the independent variable. You must be able to observe the effects of that manipulation on the dependent variable, but this must be done with all other variables which can influence change on the dependent variable are held. Professor? Okay. So, when I was talking about the control, this is just the first file group. The ability for you as a researcher to control all other variables of interest, of importance in the study, so that we can be able to investigate the effect of the independent variable on the dependent variable without ambiguity. Because there are other variables influencing the independent variable, so you can never be sure whether changes that occur on the dependent variable are being influenced by the independent variable or these other variables that are changing their form. By the way, yes, I'm going to use simple detail using quite a lot of them. This is control. E is the experimental group. This is control group. E is the experimental group. X treatment. X is the treatment. A, B, C and all the variable, and the variable equals the variable. So let's get this goes out to write in that language. And then I said that the manipulation with your ability to manipulate the independent data. Y stands for dependent variable. You as a disciple, as a rotation, must prepare the returning response of God in the area. The major issue that we have to deal with in experimental research is the issue of confounding variables. And confounding variables in this regard are those variables which are not of your interest, but they can influence change on the present variable. The whole issue of making sure that you are able to control in the experimental research is to control these confounding variables. That's my example for being an agriculture, and you are testing the effect of fertilizer on maize yield. So you are applying different levels of fertilizer to your maize plot to see whether changing the amount of fertilizer applied to maize influences changes in the yield of maize. But you know very well that as you are doing this experiment, amount of rainfall will also influence change in maize yield, right? So the rainfall is a confounding there. You know that in the course of this experiment, if you have a pest like armyworm or a disease in your maize crop, it will affect the yield of your maize, right? So, presence of diseases, presence of confounding variables. You cannot explain the changes in yield to be a result of the fertilizer alone when you're armyworm, because armyworm will also influence the yield. So you as a scientist, you must make sure that you control all those variables which can influence yield and only change the fertilizer. Okay? So, confounding variables must definitely be controlled in experimental research. Yes, I know this. Yes. Where will
controlling the ratio, confounding variables.
Yes. Confounding variables are an issue of control. Part and parcel of control. When we are talking about the control, really you as the researcher what is control are those compounding variables which can occur in your experimental design. Yeah. If you are testing, you are conducting an experiment to see whether the level of education causes increase in youth, in salary, or in income. So you have a hypothesis. It says that the more educated somebody is, the more income he makes. We want to conduct an experiment where you take people of different educational levels and you want to assess their level of income. So that you can say, the ones who are less educated are getting low income. The ones who are more educated are getting high income. But that can only make sense if the type of employment is the same. Okay? If you are looking at the teacher and they are on the same salary structure, then you can be able to say, okay, this guy with the lower educational level is at this salary. This one at the higher educational level is at this. But if you do that comparison, what they are, the types of jobs are different. You have bankers involved. You have teachers involved. You know that the type of job can also influence the level of income. Some jobs are higher paying, some jobs are lower paying. So the type of job can become a compounding variable because cannot explain the changes in the salary based on education, when they are the type of jobs also is influencing level of salary. Yeah. So compounding variables are the variables you as an educator must control. Do you know what it is? Are we together? We are together, are we together? We are together. That's what the friends behind you. Seems to be somewhere else. Are we together? Okay. And when we are talking about compounding variables, there are two main sources of compounding variables in experimental situations. One source of compounding variable pre-existing variables. Variables which may have influenced your subject before you started implementing your experiment. Those can create confusion in your experiment. Let me go back to the application example. Let's assume that your interest is to test the effect of a guy or me. But then on the plot where you have planted names and applied pesticide, is a plot where last year the farmer applied a lot of manure. The plot you are planting maize without applying pesticide is the plot where no manure was applied. So already you are coming in a situation where on this other plot the soil is better. And that, and even if you didn't apply pesticide, it is still going to show some difference in terms of yield because this soil is poor, this soil is good. Okay? So that can be a compounding variable. You can use the same example in education. Some of you are in education. Let's assume that you just said that there is a certain teaching technique which is very effective in helping students achieve data in mathematics. And you say, well, let me do an experiment to test whether indeed this teaching technique is superior to the regular teaching technique. So you decide to choose two classes. In one class, you'll be teaching them using the new teaching technique. In the other class, you'll be teaching them using the regular teaching technique. And your aim is, at the end of the course, the ones who are on the new teaching technique must perform better than these ones who are not on the new teaching technique. Let's assume that where they are coming from. These people who are on the new teaching technique were already better performed. Are you going to explain the new teaching technique? As the practice is the performance of the students? No. Because to begin with, when they were coming into this class, this group was a higher performer. This group was a poor performer. And it can happen also in university. This group where you are not using the new teaching technique was a higher performer group. This group where you have introduced the new teaching technique is not a high performance group. So you introduce the new teaching technique here and the old teaching technique here. At the end you give them an exam, you find out there is no difference between this group and that group. But should we say that the teaching technique is not introducing the difference? It is. That's why these people who are performance have equalized this way already good performance. That's because this is good performance. You cannot explain your results better. So, with existing differences can be a source of confounding data. So you as the researcher need to know what the existing variables are there in your experimental. That's one source of confounding variables. The other source of confounding variables are variables which operate in the time you are conducting your experiment. Let's assume that in this new teaching technique, you are two classes and you are using two classrooms. In one classroom is very poorly lit. There is inadequate light in that classroom. The other classroom, there is very good light. And you know that the light will influence students' ability to understand who is what. If the teacher is using things like this, students need to see. Now in the dark class, they will not sit over. In the well-lit class, they will sit over. That can be considered as this. Another example is what is happening here. If I was teaching this class at 8 o'clock in the morning and 1 o'clock in the afternoon, so I'm teaching using the new teaching technique at 8 o'clock, and I'm using the old teaching technique at 1. Now, if those people who are in the data, one going to controllers. This is all the teaching technique. If you go to the class, you really like it. So those are variables which can be organic in the time you are conducting the experiment. You need to make sure that you identify such variables and you control them. The best way of controlling them is to put them constant. If you are teaching using the old new teaching technique, this people at the same time in the different classes. 8 o'clock, 8 o'clock. These are going to the new teaching technique, these are going to the old teaching technique. Is that okay? Are you going to say it? Now it's not going to teaching technique. This class can be started at 8 o'clock. This is a master also waiting for another day. Teaching the old teaching technique and teaching the new teaching technique. And that also will be an trainer straight away. Because my teaching ability may not be the same as my colleague. But those are the sort of things you have to think about when you are designing your experiment. Question. What are compounding variables? Oh, by the way, you might find some people talk about extraneous variables, compounding variables. They are talking about the same thing. Extraneous variables are the same as compounding variables. We have to define what extraneous variables are. We're going to read. What are compounding variables? This is how we are going to explain. Then we consider so that yes, sir. That's a component there. After that. Yes. Well, you know what you do. So very compounding variables, extraneous variables, are variables which can introduce differences in the dependent variable outside the effects of the independent variable. There are other variables which influence change in the dependent variable. Influence change in the dependent variable apart from the independent variable. Yes. Okay. I'm saying that the compounding variables are variables which can influence change in the dependent variable which are not part of your independent variable interest. They are variables which can cause change in the determined variable apart from your determined variable. So in other words, you as a researcher, you are interested in seeing the change that is caused by the independent variable. But then, whilst the independent variable might be causing change, there are also other variables which are also causing change on the independent variable. So these other variables are confounding variables, or explaining variables. Maybe I have more fun with that. Never change it like man, who do you want? Well, that was just a bit. When you have design and experiment, make sure that the variables which change in that experiment are the ones you consider as independent variables. The variables you are interested in seeing their influence on the independent variables. But if you have other variables apart from those variables, independent variables of interest you have, which are also influencing change in the dependent variable, those are confounding variables. They are extraneous variables. They are confusing you with your ability to explain the changes which are occurring on the dependent variable. And because they are confusing you, they are called confounding variables. I'm saying in so many different ways. So that generally, people will bet on you are taking the other different way. Very good. Yes. The confounding variables. Yes. Yes, I said it definitely. They are the ones. Those variables which are not of your interest, but are still influencing change of the dependent variable. Those are the ones you must control. Those, you should make sure that those are not having any influence to change the dependent variable. And one way of controlling, you cannot remove it, but you can hold them constant. And when I'm saying holding them constant, in an experimental research, you always have an experimental group, each group, and a control group. Okay? In the experimental group, that's where you introduce change in your dependent variable. And you want to be seeing how that change is influencing your dependent variable. In the control group, you don't introduce change in your independent variable. And you want to see the result. So your interest is seeing whether the results of the experimental group are different from the control group. In designing these two groups, make sure that the compounding variables are the same here and there. Okay? In my example of teaching, where I want to test the teaching technique. So your variable of interest is the teaching technique. Eh? You have two levels of teaching technique. One level the regular way of teaching students. The other level, the new way of teaching students. So you are manipulating that area of the teaching technique. Okay? But then you know that the influence of the teacher can cause difference in the performance